Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Jeremy Price, and we're here at Assembly Hall where what you saw tonight was pretty ugly, more or less. Indiana wins. That's obviously the most important thing for the Hoosiers, 73-60, and they become, I think, only the 6th team in IU history to win 25 games in a regular season. Obviously, in the old days, they didn't play that many games, so that makes kind of a difference. But combined, we're looking at 67 missed field goals, 20 missed free throws, 31 turnovers, 52 personal fouls, and 3 for 27 from the three-point arc. So not a thing of beauty at all. Indiana had exactly one shot outside the paint until the final minute. IU strangely hits 2 threes. Oladipo and Yogi Ferrell hit a 3 each in the last 49 seconds. Up until one point, they had hit exactly one jump shot from outside the paint. Yogi Ferrell at about 18:34 in the second half. That was it. Everything else was in the paint. So obviously some general ugliness, but obviously the big point, as Tom Crean made over and over and over, was the fact they defended well. Obviously they had to keep Iowa from scoring as many points as they did, so that obviously said something. They got to the free throw line a ton really, and we're still able to control this game as ugly as it was. Hi, Zach. Jeremy?
Carrying on.
Yeah.
The key for this...
Hi, Zach.
Dustin declared war, and so there is war.
So I'm going to photobomb him later. Anyway.
The key for this is this wasn't really, I don't know if you'd call it a must-win game, but it was a must-not-lose game for Indiana.
Oh, very much so.
This was just the game to avoid doing something stupid and losing to a team you shouldn't lose to, basically. Mm-hmm. And the style points, or lack thereof, aside, that part of things, I guess, ended the way it needed to for Indiana. But the rest of it, nah.
Right. I mean, it got there. I mean, very good point. I mean, it was absolutely the game they needed not to lose. If anything could derail a shot at a number 1 seed, this was it, more or less. I mean, this was kind of the game. As long as they got past this one, I mean, obviously, if they were to lose, to Ohio State on Tuesday, it would hurt significantly, just because IU's already dominated them once. But Ohio State obviously is a very good team and has knocked out some very good teams already. And losing to Michigan on the road, I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot of shame in that. If they lose that game but still have a pretty solid showing at the Big Ten tournament, they've got a good chance of holding on to the 1 seed at the very least. If they beat Ohio State, they've got to share the Big Ten championship. At least they can hold that, obviously, as an accomplishment. But yeah, this was the one game that they could not afford to lose. And basically, one thing Crean made a point to say was that we played mature tonight. We played smart. You kind of look at a certain point and say, what is this game telling us? And it's telling us we're not going to play in the 80s tonight. Nobody's going to hit 100. It's not going to be pretty. You're going to have to win this game and win this one ugly, and you're going to have to play defense. As long as you keep them from scoring, you'll be fine. And really, that's kind of, they kept their heads, I think, doing that.
Which is interesting, because I thought the game Tuesday was probably their most immature effort of the season.
I would say Illinois still, but it was up there. I thought mentally immature. I thought Illinois was still the worst one. But yeah, for an extended period, you're probably
for an extended period somewhere. At least.
Yeah.
So to come back and kind of be mentally strong, and mentality is kind of what you were looking for tonight, is what kind of mentality would they bring to this? And from the start, they were aggressive. Even if they weren't finishing, they were at least attacking, kind of dictating the game.
Right.
And even though the lead probably should have been 25 or something at halftime instead of 12, their mind was at least in the right place, even if the physical execution wasn't.
Right. No, I think you're very right there. And they had to do some things. I mean, Iowa presented an interesting challenge for them defensively. I mean, Iowa has a huge lineup at this point. They've been forced to have a huge lineup. That's not something they did by design. Obviously, Mike Gessel got hurt. But they'd already been going bigger, and this made them even bigger. With basically, they go 6'6", 6'5" in the backcourt, and they've got a true 3-man front court, 6'7", 6'8", 6'10". And for Indiana out of the gate, that's not an easy matchup. I mean, Yogi Ferrell had to take Roy Devin Marble a lot tonight, and he's given up 6 inches in that. Some guys are able to take advantage of size, some aren't. But I mean, Marble was shooting it over Ferrell in a lot of cases. I mean, there was just not a lot that Ferrell can do to Yogi can do to really get a hand up. And you get a hand up a little bit, but when the other guy's that much taller than you, what are you going to do about it? And Marble hit some shots that way, but I mean, they really had to get into some guys. I mean, Victor Oladipo was spending a lot of time on Aaron White today, a guy he's given up 3 inches to and, significant amount of weight. So they really did have to concentrate and really have to focus hard to deal with the team with that much more length and that they know is, capable offensively. But they stuck with that. I mean, it seemed like in every case they were able to, handle the rotations, handle the fact that they were in a lot of cases guarding bigger guys and just dealing with it.
Yeah, and in the first half, they basically took Iowa out of any kind of continuity rhythm to the offense, really. Yeah. And a lot of that credit, I think, goes to Indiana, even though the 14 turnovers, you could say some of that was on Iowa as well. But
right. It was like a soccer game at that point. It was like they were like clearing shots sometimes. I mean, like they get the ball and just throw it in the backcourt. Like, yeah, just go down that way.
So, and by the second half, Iowa got going. Marble finally got going in the second half, but by that point, Indiana kind of had a comfortable working margin. And you mentioned Yogi Ferrell. I mean, he basically countered every point for Marble tonight.
Right.
And I thought the game at Iowa City, Yogi was really good in the first half, got a lot of dribble penetration, was able to create a lot of things. And he was kind of able to pick up where he left off in those terms tonight and get to the basket, get into the lane. And when he wasn't doing that, they were getting the ball to Cody Zeller.
Absolutely. Both of those guys obviously huge in this game. It became a paint game pretty early. That it was kind of evident that they were going to have to score that way. They ended up scoring 36 in the paint, and obviously went to the free throw line a ton, and a lot of that was for that same reason, just being aggressive in there. Zeller, they just got it to him, but he also did a great job of offensive rebounding. There was a lot of not even just missed shots, just the ball getting knocked around. Just in certain cases, guys putting up shots, not them being blocked or them just sort of. Just something going on the shot, but Zeller seemed to always be there. They pounded the ball to him inside. He found ways of just getting buckets, and he was dominant after obviously a really tough performance against Minnesota that didn't go well for him at all, especially against Trevor Mbakwe. He came back and was clearly the toughest guy on the floor tonight, where Mbakwe was on Tuesday night, Zeller was tonight. And like you said, when Farrell, whether Iowa was using some 1-2-2 zone, some 2-3 zone, and it seemed like the only way Indiana was able to really beat it was by just going through it and just finding the cracks in it. And that's what Farrell did, is really just kind of drive at it and find places he could slip through. And did a much better job of finishing tonight. I think he was 2 for 10 against Minnesota. In this game, I think he made a point, and Tom Crean made a point to say that, he was just getting in there and making a point to make the layup, that he was probably focusing too much on drawing the contact, on drawing the foul, and not so much on just getting in the bucket and finishing it, and just thinking of that first and let the foul come. And that's what he did. Basically, he got there. He got to the rim a bunch of times, so able to make not circus shots, but some tough shots, some tough layups. Again, also hit the lone 2-point jump shot of the night for Indiana, and that was obviously huge when they had those two guys that they could sort of rely on to get them points. They didn't need a ton of them, obviously, with the way they were defending. They just had to get just enough to stay out in front, and then also for those guys to get fouled and other guys to get fouled.
That was really just the story of the night. They did what they needed to do, whether it was offensively, defensively, what have you. They did what they needed to do to get a win. Not a whole lot more, not a whole lot less, but they did what they needed to do.
Yeah, no, that's what they'll keep with them. It's a milestone for a number of reasons. Again, it's just the 6th time in school history that they've had 25 wins in the regular season, and that's pretty big milestone. Obviously, they play more games these days than they used to. A lot more games these days than they used to, and you can get darn near close to 40 wins by the time the season's all done. But still a milestone victory, and obviously, again, they're 1 win away from a share of the Big Ten title. If they beat Ohio State on Tuesday, they have a share of it for the first time since 2002. If they get that and they get some help, if Wisconsin and Michigan State both lose, I think Michigan State's playing Michigan on tomorrow, so that could happen then. And then if Michigan State were to lose that game and then come back and beat Wisconsin, and IU beats Ohio State, Big Ten champs, and obviously they win both of them. But it sets them up pretty good. Again, it's there's one less problematic hurdle, between them and a 1 seed and the 1 seed in the Midwest. Obviously, that's very much what they're playing for.
I think we'll see a lot better game on Tuesday night.
Sure.
There'll be a lot better atmosphere, a lot
Senior
more on
night.
the line. Senior night, the whole thing. I think everything will be better. This was kind of a weird.
Yeah, and there's not. I don't think
throwdown.
there's so much of an explanation for it on IU's part. I mean, I don't know really what to make of it, where it comes from, how much of a problem you put on it. I mean, Jordy Hulls and Christian Watford just hit a bunch of threes up in Minneapolis, especially Hulls was pretty much lights out. Tonight he's 0 for 7. Had some good looks that just didn't go down. Watford, same
for the
deal.
season against Iowa.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, he got 2 points on free throws, but hasn't hit a field goal against Iowa. Sure. I mean, part of it's tight. I mean, he's defended by Oglesby, who's 6'5". And nobody thinks a whole, generally statistically, Hulse has got him beaten in every category you can imagine, and Oglesby is pretty much just a three-point shooter, but still, that 6'5" worth of length is not easy to shoot over and easy to get a good look on. He didn't get a whole bunch of good looks tonight, but I thought the threes he took were smart. I don't think they were, bad ideas. Same deal with Watford for the most part. I thought most of his shots made sense. Just this was not one of those nights where jump shots went down. Somebody had decided at some point this wasn't going to be one of those games. One way or the other, IU wins. 2 more left, and then the Big Ten tournament. The shot to be Big Ten champs next week. Thanks, guys.